everybody. Hi, it's Amy from Amy J's Creations. Welcome back. Oh my gosh, I'm like actually coming at kind of the beginning of the month. I know. I had a lot of fun in June. I had several projects that I had picked out that I wanted to work on and hopefully finish, and I got them done and they are fully finished, and I am happy to show them to you. So, let's start with this one. Lizzie Kate, Liberty for All. Now, remember, I bought this when we went with the Swiss cross stitch group to the cross stitch store that is in the French-speaking part of Switzerland, and spent the day there. And this was in one of her, she just had like bins of patterns because the lady who owns the shop currently bought it from another lady who had the shop for years and years and years. And so she's like trying to get rid of old stock so she can have money to buy new stock. And so this was in one of the older stock bins. So I bought that for very cheap. It was like 70% off, and it included everything. So I stitched that on all of my, I had several July 4th Independence Day pieces that I stitched on the same piece of fabric. It is a, I believe they called it, it's like the vintage country mocha, but the gray of that, I think it's vintage gray smoke or something like that. But it's a great neutral. It was light enough that the colors really popped off of it, but dark enough that you can see the white. And I think it looks great with all of these finishes that I have. So here is the fully finished. I'm going to hold that up. See, somebody mentioned something, Sue, I believe it was, about how it gets dark. And so I have a different light here. So now it's almost getting blown out, but I think that's better than having it be dark. Yeah. Okay. So this is a box that I got from TJ Maxx a couple visits ago to America. And it had a thing like, it's a COVID redo or something like. It was like if you had said, if you gotten married during COVID and now you were having a wedding ceremony that everyone could actually come for. And it was like a light brown. I painted over it with some red acrylic paint. The red that I had was a little too bright, and so I added just a drop of black to darken it up a tiny bit, and didn't worry too much about how perfect the painting job was because I knew most of it would be covered up. This is rickrack and another little strip of some sort of ribbon I had in my stash that I put around. I did cover all the ends with fray check because when I cut them, I don't want them to get unravel and get all scraggly looking. I did put the little buttons and the like little charm things on there. Those were included in the kit. However, I did not have any of the called for colors pretty much. These were all Weeks Dye Works. The most of the overdye floss that I have is Classic Color Works. So I used my own colors, and I'm going to show you what they are, tell you what those are. And I used these colors for all of my stitches. All of the July 4th stitches on this piece of fabric that I'm going to show you were all done with the same. So I used Dublin Bay for the lighter blue. I used Ribbon Red for the red. I used 930, DMC 930 for the darker blue. And I used a skein of JP & Coats white that my mother had given me. I liked that white because it was not a white, but it was also not the eggshell that I had that I was going to try to substitute for whitewash looked very yellow. And I wanted the white to not be bright white like a B5200, but not be that yellow. And so I changed it out for the JP & Coats White. And then through some of these, towards the end, I did run out of the ribbon red. And so I substituted that with 321. And honest to gosh, you can't tell. They coordinate great. Now, there were a few other colors that were called for here, like a black. And I did use a lighter, I think it was a 712 for the beard and the eyebrows and the mustache. And then I went over the top of that with one length, and I just did the top cross in the Whisper White. And that was called for, and I do have some of that. It's not my favorite to use, but it does create a nice, cute, fuzzy look. But what I have learned is you have to cut the lengths really, really short, because even though this is not a long area, the fuzz strips off very quickly, passing back and forth, and so you lose the fluffiness. So I'm talking like an 8-inch length was even almost too long, because by the time I got to the end, the last few stitches had no fuzz on them, and I ended up cutting off the floss. So, and grabbing a new one. So yeah, but it was fun, very cute. I put it on mat board, and I fold down the edges on the back, and then I sew the corners to get a nice sharp corner, and then glued it down with Eileen's tacky glue and lots of weights. So that's the first one. And this frame is nice and thick. I did not paint the back. I'm not crazy. But I painted the side. And so this is thick enough that it will just stand up on its own. So that was my first July 4th finish. I'm trying to figure out where I should put that. All right. So now I'm done with this pattern. I used up the charms, but I do have more little tiny baby buttons that I would happily put in there for anybody, whoever wants this. I'm happy to pass this on. If it's somebody who wins from the States, I will have you enter in the comments. I rarely get very many comments. But those who comment, it's the same people who comment all the time, and I so appreciate you. But so I will pass this on to whoever wants it. Yes, I know July 4th is over, but the year of the 250th birthday is still going. So if you think this little cute pattern you would like, put in the comment, use the word Liberty, and I will send that to you. Now, I am opening this up to my German floss tube people as well, and I will announce it in my German version, just because there are a few people, quite a few German stitchers, who like to stitch, for some reason, American patriotic. And there are also American, like me, expats. So if somebody, whoever wants this, put it in the comments, and I will do a random comment picker for whoever wants this pattern. Yeah. Like I said, and I will include 2 buttons. I don't have the little star charms, but I will include the 2 buttons. Yeah, word Liberty. Okay. All right. Then my next cross stitch that I did, this is from, oh my gosh, Primrose Cottage. Primrose Cottage. They have a newsletter. If you have not signed up for the newsletter, you really ought to. Yes, they're not obnoxious. They come once a week. And they usually tell you about some sales they're having on, or special events that are coming up for those who are lucky enough to go to the store that's in St. George, Utah. But they also have one freebie a month. Okay. And you can only get it through the newsletter. They also sell a finishing package, like with all the floss and I think fabric and finishing fabric so you can finish the freebie. I don't do that because it wouldn't be cost effective for me to send it every month from America. But the pattern itself, this was the freebie. This is a great pattern. Look how cute that is. Again, I used all the same colors. This, of course, only needed 3 colors. So it was the 930, the ribbon red, and that JP & Coats white. And I think it turned out super cute. This, I finished it on, I covered 2 pieces of a thinner mat board. And then this is a thicker foam core board. And I did actually put some fabric on the back, just because this will be displayed on an easel and people might see the back. And I decided might as well. But isn't that just cute? And I did put a little tiny silver bow. I didn't have that on there at first. And then I decided it needed a little silver. And I liked the fact that it harkened back to the bit of silver that was on this one. Do you see that? Yeah, you can see that. So there is that Primrose Cottage stitches. That was from this year. I have several others that I printed out that were from years previous that I didn't have time to stitch, but this one I for sure wanted to get done. I really, really liked it. So that's my second finish. This was another, they gave an extra freebie because of the 250th birthday, and it was called Old Glory. And there is that. Now this is the one where I ran out of the ribbon red, and so I used the 321. But the overdyed on this is very subtle. And so I feel like it doesn't miss anything, that this is just straight 321. But very cute. And then there's on the back. Now I made, several years ago, I made a flag quilt. And this was one of the materials that I used, I believe, ended up my backing fabric? Maybe I bought it and thinking I was going to use it for the flag and ended up not using it for the quilt. It's out in my display area. I'll post a picture of my display actually at the end of this video and you can see, but I think I ended up not using this fabric. So I have some, and I thought it was really cute to finish the back of all these little pillows. I didn't want to put any trim on it. This is just going in a dough bowl, and I didn't think it needed trim. The design is enough. But very cute. Then these next 5 pillows, the pattern came from, let me grab my patterns here. I've printed it out. It is from Cross Stitcher Magazine. Okay, now my husband got me the digital copy of this Cross Stitcher Magazine. The design is by Emma Congdon, and it's called Stars and Stripes. And I'm going to show you, if you haven't seen it, this is what the finished whole piece looks like. Okay, she designed it to be stitched as one. I was not feeling patriotic enough to stitch the whole thing. And I knew it wouldn't get done in time for July 4th. And so I picked out my favorite elements from it and made little pillows. The first one you will see, if you look at here, this is the pillow that's from that middle piece. But I did leave out the 250 years of freedom, because they may be free from British rule, but not everyone who lives in the States has had 250 years of freedom. So I thought that was a lie. I left it off, but I did put the years that the country has been a country. And if you look very close, you will see that everything on the bottom is not lined up exactly in the middle. It is one stitch off. But if I had not pointed that out to you in my need to overshare, you would have never noticed. And I think it's very cute. I did use, it was supposed to have a wider color for the top of the eagle's head, and I just went ahead and used that same 738 that I used yeah, is it 738? Yeah, that I used everywhere else, um, just to keep the colors harmonious. Again, the back is stitched with this. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little story about my finishing process, okay? So I cut out a strip of this fabric, and I cut a long strip, and I fussy cut the stuff for the little pillows so that each one would have a star in the back of the pillow, okay? Which, and then there was some fabric left. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just use the width of that. So kind of switch the orientation to do the backs of these two pillows. But then I didn't like that that made the stars look the wonky because they were then the wrong direction. But it wasn't wide enough to do the backs like this. So then I grabbed a little bit of the leftover red fabric that was quite literally a scrap from this. That was this same red. Cut off a bit, cut that strip in half, sewed it on either side, then attached some of the, that stuff you put on the fabric on all my pillows. I always the iron-on fusible backing. I always put that on there. So I had already put it on this middle piece, but I didn't have it on this red piece. So then I cut strips of that. And ironed it on after they had already been sewed together. So we are not a professional finishing service at all, but it got done. It got done, and that made them wide enough that I could then finish the backs with a little bit of cute red. So sometimes you have an idea, and it's not fully thought out, but you can flesh it out in the course of doing your finishing. Okay, so then let me show you these cute little pillows. I at first was thinking I would put a very decorative border around them, like add maybe a strip of white as well. And then as I got stitching, I said, doesn't need it. So we've got Uncle Sam's hat. We have the Liberty Bell. We've got, I believe this is probably the Declaration of Independence that's getting signed with a fancy feather quill. And then the torch from the Statue of Liberty. And again, these were the elements taken from this sampler. And so all those little there's 6 pillows will go in my dough bowl. Today is the 3rd. So I had to hurry and film this before I put them away. So those will go on my little dough bowl as decoration. And I already know that before next year, I want to stitch. Remember I bought those State Splendor series, but just of the states that I actually had lived in. So I will finish those up and make them into little pillows and add them in with this for my July summer display. But yeah, so those were here's the thing. I finished and fully finished those in the month of June. So yeah, those were my fully finishes, but they were also my starts. They were also my whips. They are also my finishes. That's how that worked. And then I was kind of in the finishing mood. And so I grabbed, because I had gone to the like hobby, it's more like a Lowe's, but they also have a small section that has like hobby items like acrylic paint and stuff. And I knew that I needed some more black acrylic paint. So I picked that up, painted this super, super cheap frame from Ikea, and finished this little Halloween freebie that I stitched last year. And I took one of my white gel pens and kind of drew on a little spider webby there because the all black was just kind of a little too plain for me. I could have finished. I'm in the mood to finish more, but I ran out of time, and I was like, I'll just film, and then I'll have even more finishes to show next time. It's okay. They don't all have to be done. They're all ironed and washed and waiting to go. But so there's that one. So that's my other fully finished that is not actually a patriotic piece. Okay, so then what did I do? Did I only work on those for the month of June? No, because remember, I have that giant full coverage that I want to get finished. So what I did was during the day, if I had stitching time, I worked on the patriotic pieces. But every night that my husband and I, when we sat down to watch TV, I would work on the full coverage piece. And my plan of attack has been for all the month of June is I was picking whatever symbol was not done in the first square or in the second square and choosing that and stitching it wherever it went in the top half of this. Okay, so the whole thing, as you can see, kind of still looks the same. There's a couple places where I added some more lighter color that's not so easily seen. But mostly what I've been concentrating on is this top half, because this is where it's the most confetti-like. There are actual places where it's like one random stitch here, one random stitch there. Usually what they do is they follow sort of a chain, but it is a very thin, you can kind of follow the path. But they are slightly stretched out. And so I've only been getting about 200 stitches a night in, 3 hours of watching TV. Yes, we have a TV watching problem. And sometimes I stay up after my husband has gone to bed to hurry and finish so I can get to that 200 mark. Depending on how late it was when we started watching TV. But yeah, that's what I've been concentrating on. I actually have finished, I'm up to 52% on this piece, which means I stitched 2% pretty much in this month, which is 5,000 stitches. 5,000 stitches. But does it look like I stitched 5,000 stitches, I mean? I don't think so, but it is getting more and more filled in. It is getting more filled in. And the reason I'm doing this is my thinking. And it's from my sweet friend Susan, who lives in Berlin. She was like, you got to be careful, because when I took this and I worked on just a bunch of the white and got a whole bunch done, I think it was this right here, got a whole bunch done in one day. She's like, oh, you're going to do all those big color blocks and then be so frustrated when the only thing left is all the little itty bitty things, and it's going to seem like it takes forever. And I was like, she is a smart woman. I'm going to listen to her advice. And so that's why I switched and went, I'm going to do all the pain in the rear little confetti-like bits up here in the top, because this middle and the bottom are huge color blocks of the same color. It will go very quickly and be very rewarding and very fun when I'm down to the wire and almost burnt out on this project. That will keep me from being burnt out, because it's like, oh, look, I got 800 stitches today. But so that's why right now, while it's still fun, I'm not color completing. There are some that it's like so few stitches left down in the bottom of that same color, but I'm like, no, I am concentrating on doing the fiddly bits on the top, so that this, this top third, basically, from here to where the mountains start, is completely done, filled in, solid full coverage finish, and then I can start working on the color blocks, fun stuff. So that's my plan. And like I said, 200 stitches a night, but it got me to pretty much 5,000 stitches in this month. So not bad. And now this is July 3rd, so that means July has started. Jolly July. Oh, you will have noticed I didn't show my leap year piece. I skipped that this year, or this month. Not this year, this month, because I wanted to hurry and finish all those patriotic pieces. And I was like, I can skip it for a month. It's fine. And so I did. And I also didn't work on my chatelaine on the 1st. But that is a different story. I didn't do any stitching on the 1st because I was busy driving My son's best friend, who is like a daughter to us, Fiona, she moved into her first apartment, her very first big girl apartment all by herself. And it's very close to her work, but it is very far from where she currently lives. And she needed help with hauling all her furniture, assembling all her furniture, moving the furniture from her car up to the apartment. So my son and my daughter Sarah went over and helped her. And I had to work that morning, or else I would have stayed and helped too. But instead, I drove them over early in the morning. And it was like, it's like an hour there, it's an hour back. Went to work. We celebrated Canada Day. But what we did nobody was there at lunch, so we didn't eat our poutine until dinner time. But I did I put up some of the decorations. Actually, my husband had put up a lot of the decorations. But I was busy like doing the laundry and cleaning up the kitchen. And then in the afternoon, I had to go drive and pick them up again and bring them back home. So that was another 2 hours of driving. And then we celebrated Canada Day. So by the time evening came, I was so tired. I just sat there and watched TV, did nothing, didn't fold the laundry I had washed, just sat there and watched TV because I don't know, driving like that for me, it wears me out. Maybe it's just because I'm old. I don't know, but it wears me out. But we are watching, speaking of what we've been watching, it's not a brand new show, but it's new to us that we just found. It's from the BBC, Patience. It's about an autistic girl who works in the police department, but she works in like the records department, but she loves solving puzzles. And it's been really neat because one of the things that her character does is visits this autistic support group with lots of people who have autism, and they discuss various problems and issues that they're having, and it's run by somebody else who's also autistic. And so because that is very prevalent in our family, we appreciate that it's being shown in a positive light, how they can really contribute to society and have many great awesome skills if the neurotypicals will just be slightly understanding and a tiny bit accommodating. What they bring to the table is much more than what other people sacrifice in order to accommodate their issues. Anyway, it's very fun. And it's set in York, which is a part of England that we haven't been to. It's farther north. But now we want to go because that cathedral looks like awesome. Anyway, so all of that to say, in July, I am doing Jolly July. Okay. I will still be working, same MO in the evenings. I'll be working on this, getting whatever stitches I can get in the evenings. But during the day, during my stitching time, I have 5 different projects. Now there's 4 full weeks in July, and each of these bigger projects will be worked on for a full week. And then on Sundays, I will continue to work on my nativity pieces. Okay, so let me show you the ones. Now these are all of them but one are whips. I have one new start that's Christmassy. So the first one I'm working on for these first few days, and it's actually going to get these first few days of July and also next week because it's a bigger project. It is more complicated. And I really want to get it done, is my Celtic Christmas from Lavender and Lace. So I was working on it yesterday a little bit. I was working on it today earlier before I was filming. And this is what she's looking like now. Can you see that? Yeah. So this was all done already. What I have worked on is I put in the gold in those like last 3 symbols on the side. And then I've worked on her dress. On her skirt, there was this. Let's see if I can do this here. Here we go. This big section right here was completely open. And I have stitched quite a bit in there. as well. I am hoping to get all the cross stitching done on this during um, during its time in Jolly July, so that only the beading is left. That might be too ambitious, but you know what? If you don't set a big goal, if I only said, "Oh, I want to just finish your skirt" or something, then that's all I would do. But if I set a bigger goal, then I might finish her skirt and her and just not some of the symbols on the other side. Like I'll get more done if I set a more ambitious goal. So that is what I'm working on for these few days, and then the first next week in July. Then my next project is from Twin Peak Primitives, and it is their Christmas market, Vinox Marked. I don't have a finished picture, so I'll just kind of show you this. Now, I am changing all the colors on this. Well, not all the colors, but they had a lot of the different booths were different colors. But every Christmas market that I have seen, all the booths are very coordinated. Oh, look, and my needle is still stuck there where I last worked on it. So I am just doing light green and dark green booths. And then I've got that Christmas tree going on, and I will work on this for a week. Now, there is more stitching in those little houses than you would think, in the little booth houses. So I don't think I will get this done in the week that I'm working on it. But I'm going to give it a good amount of time to work on. Because it's been languishing around, and now with the death of Nurden, I think. Hold on. It's whoever was Nursen. With the death of Nursen, I figured a lot of people are doing a Twin Peak Primitives project, and so I decided I needed to get this out and work on it as well. So that's project number 2. For the third week, I actually have a new start. And these are a collection of freebies from Shannon Christine Designs that she has released throughout the past years. There are several mugs. I'm going to show them to you because they're free anyway. And yeah, this is a little cupcake. There's mugs and cupcakes. This is a little gingerbread house. The gingerbread house is going to go in the middle. There's another cupcake, a Santa-y cupcake. And then this mug as well. Now, I am going to be changing this blue mug into a green mug using the colors from this, because I want it to be red and green for Christmassy. And I'm stitching them in a row on this fabric that I got from Zweigart, and I honestly don't know what the color is, but it's a beautiful green. Let's see if I can, ooh, that light is, let's see, if I get it up close, no, that washes it out. Let's see, if I move this light down, that's actually, no, it's an olivey green. If I make it thicker, does that help? I can't tell. Anyway, it's from Zweigart, and I think it was in their little, bargain corner. And I've got it all kitted up and ready to go. And that's going to be my one new start. And I like to stitch these the way I do these little Shannon Christine freebies, because they have so many so many color changes, is I try to stitch everything that's got red on it on all of the designs. And then, that same color, I'll try to stitch it everywhere it is if possible, so that I'm not constantly changing my needle so much. It seems to be less frustrating that way. So there's those. And then my fourth project for the fourth week is I have a couple prairie schoolers. Now, I bought 2 more prairie schoolers. One is the 2026 Santa. Now, remember, I don't stitch all the Santas, but I stitch the Santas that have special significance to me and my family, the year. This is the year that 2 of my children graduated. And Maddie, Noah's girlfriend. So 3 children. 2 graduated college and 1 graduated high school. So I thought that was important enough to memorialize with a Santa. And he's not pooping snowballs, so I'm happy with that. And then the other one I got is the 2020 Santa, because that is the year that actually my 2 of my kids, the 2 who graduated college and high school, respectively, graduated high school and 6th grade. So I decided, and of course, 2020, that's a year that should be commemorated. We're all getting blasted by that wind. So I got those 2 that I'm going to work on during the 4th week. And all the I'm doing them on a 40 count with all the called for colors. But a 40 count. So that they'll be slightly smaller and more ornament-like. Okay, so then what am I working on Sundays in July? My Sunday stitch is I want to continue working on the Shepherd's Bush. What is this called? Joyful Christmas. All right. And in case, no one has an encyclopedic memory of all my projects. So this is what I have so far on there, on him. So I can definitely easily finish that up, especially because I'm not doing the words. I'm not stitching Christmas. I'm literally stitching just the nativity part scene with the shepherd and the wise men and stuff. So that will be finished up. And then if I do finish it and there's still a Sunday left, I will look for a new nativity to start. So, yeah. Those are my, let's speak proper English, Amy. Those are my Jolly July plans for the month of July. And I'm really happy with them. And I'm hoping, like I said, if I don't finish them completely this month, at least I will get them close enough that, say, come November, when I get the urge again to stitch Christmas stuff, maybe they can get finished in that time, in that month. All right, now I did buy a few things. Okay, so when I purchased those, okay, let me go back. I was working on my Mirabilia, right, in Mirabilia May, and loved it. And my oldest daughter, was like, "Oh my gosh, those are so pretty." And I said, "Would you like me to stitch a fancy lady for you too?" She goes, "Yes." So we were looking on the Mirabilia website of all her designs. And she's like, "I love mermaids." So I went to the mermaid one and she looked through, and we ordered the Gypsy Mermaid for Sarah. Okay. So I ordered it on 1-2-3 Stitch. Now my other daughter, don't worry, she will get a fancy lady too. But she was not around when we were ordering these, so it's okay. Anyway, so I ordered this. And then when I was on the 1-2-3 website, it recommended to me, once I put this into my cart, "Oh, do you want the bead pack?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's get that taken care of right away." So I ordered what I thought was the bead pack. Let this be a warning to you. No. Whatever AI program or whatever they've got going that recommends the bead packs is not exactly foolproof. So be very, very careful, because otherwise you will spend $23 on beads that you do not need. and I don't really have an easy way to return them. So I just have all these beads and a couple treasures in my stash unless somebody else wants to buy the Gypsy Queen bead embellishment pack off of me that I bought at 123 Stitch. But the Gypsy Mermaid uses completely different beads than the Gypsy Queen. I checked. There is not a single bead in this bead pack that goes with the Gypsy Mermaid. So, don't just blindly accept 123 Stitch's recommendations, because that was not correct. But since I was ordering those, then I ordered the that's when I ordered the Prairie Schooler things as well. And I have no plans of when I'm going to start this, but I already have the fabric. Now, this is fabric I bought recently at Zweigart. And it's one of those fabrics, you know, that's like slightly lighter on the top and then it gets darker. Okay. And I kind of like that because it was like how the surface of the water is lighter. And then as you go deeper in the water, it gets darker. I really like that. Sarah's very excited. She thinks it's going to be gorgeous. So there's that. And then the last thing that I ordered, and this I ordered from Amazon, and I try not to support him, but sometimes, dang it, nobody else had it, was this 4-corner clamp belt. And this is for when I cut up the frames. See how all the little clamps, there's like 4 corners that go on the 4 corners of the frame that hold it tight together once you've glued it back together. So I'm very, very happy about this, but like I haven't had time to do any more frame cutting, but I will be getting to it. So I'm very happy to have that. In case you wanted to know what was the best thing to use, this is it. That is it. So that is what I have been stitching on and what I will be stitching on in the coming month of July. We are also, like I said, my daughter is graduating from Swiss. It's Gymnasium, Kantonsschule. It's kind of what you would think of as high school, but it's also a little bit junior college wrapped in. And it's quite an achievement. It is quite an achievement. It's hard. It's really hard. So we're very proud of her. Her graduation ceremony is actually tomorrow morning on July 4th. So we are going there in the morning. She wants to have our regular July 4th hamburgers and flag cake. And I make a 7-layer dip in the shape of a flag. That's what she wants as her celebratory meal. And then in the evening, several of our friends, American friends, are getting together at the swimming pool to celebrate. We discussed it. We're not feeling that patriotic. Like the 250 years is cool, but we're not that into it. So we're actually going to there is going to be a food truck festival in the town down the hill from us. And we're going to ride the bus down and eat dinner there and try all different kind of foods from all over to celebrate July 4th / her graduation. So that's, and then that's right, I forgot to tell you. So then the next week on the 8th, she is going to Greece with a lot of people in her class. There's 15 of them, I think, are going. There was like 18 kids in the class total. So how it works in Switzerland is if you go to Long Gimme, which is 6 years, the first 2 years, you're with one group of kids. And then after the first 2 years, you have to break and decide if you want to study, like what you're going to study. So some people choose new languages, which is my daughter. So she studied Italian, French, and English. Some of them do old languages, ancient languages, which is what my son did. So he studied Latin, ancient Greek, Russian. Sanskrit? No, Sanskrit was in college, so Russian. Then some kids do art, so they study much more drawing and painting and sculpting. Some kids do music. Some kids do math. Some kids do science. Some kids do business. Okay? And so when you choose that, your profile, you then, for the next 4 years, are with all the same kids You go to all the same classes, you have the same teachers for those 4 years. So your group of 18 kids, because school classes are very small, school says 18 kids have been together every day in every class for 4 years. And so they're all going on a not school sponsored, parent and child paid for trip. And this is tradition. My husband, when he graduated over, oh my gosh, 38 years ago, they went to Amsterdam and had a great time. My son, they went to the Black Forest and had a great time. My daughter's class, they are going to an island in Greece. They are not going to Mykonos. It's another one that I can't remember the name of because it's really long, and it's not Santorini, and it's not Crete, and it's not Mykonos, which are the three that I know. So it's one of those. She's told me several times. I just can't remember it. Anyways, and they found a really nice big house, and they are taking the train to Milan and then flying from Milan to this little island. And so she's going to be gone for a week, having fun. And so while she is gone there, the rest of us are going to Salzburg. And my husband is part Austrian. We've gone to Salzburg many times. So the kids are not super, we're not doing new. We've been there a lot of times. So this trip, we decided to extra look for things that we've never done. So one of them is, I'm so sorry that I'm going to admit this. I have been to Neuschwanstein many, many years ago. We took our kids once many years ago when I think Alexandra was a baby and got there too late, and it was closed for the day, and it was like on our way to go somewhere else. Also, I think Salzburg. So we ended up not going. So this trip, we're for sure leaving early enough in the morning that we can go tour Neuschwanstein, then drive on to Salzburg. We are going to do a couple things inside the city, but like I said, we've been there so often. It's mainly, there's the Residence, which we have never gotten into because we've tried 3 different times and we've never gotten in for various different reasons. So we're going to try again to go inside there to tour it. There's our favorite restaurant that we want to go to, the Stiftskeller, and then we're going to things outside of it. The Mondsee Cathedral, that was the building where in Sound of Music Maria got married in, that convent cathedral. We've never been there. We're going to the chapel where the song Silent Night was first performed. It was written for that chapel. We're going to go there. And then there's another little town further south on a different lake that we're going to go visit. So we're looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. So, and that's just for a week. And then the rest of the time in July, we're doing things like going to Europa Park. We are visiting a couple super touristy places in Switzerland, just like we did last year, because we had so much fun doing that. I mean, seriously, we live in the most beautiful country in the world, literally. And we've seen a lot of it, but there's so much more to see. I've been following people's YouTube shorts, like influencers. And I know that sounds so cliche, but I'm discovering things that I'm like, that's an hour and a half from my house, and I've lived here 25 years, and I didn't even know it existed, and Rando from New Jersey is telling me about it. Like, one, embarrassing, but also awesome it's going on the list. So we're doing several things like that. And then in middle of August, we are flying to the States to drop my youngest off at college, and we'll be there for about 2.5 weeks. And I'm hoping to meet up with a couple of Stitchy friends and go to Shepherd's Bush and spend the day chatting and stitching and being with them. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Kay. So very excited about that. And I'm hoping that Kay's friend Lisa comes because she is awesome. I met her. Sadly, my friend Stephanie, the rednecked bifocal stitcher, she has moved to Kansas City. It's not a sad thing for her, sad for me. So she won't be able to make it. But yeah, there were several ladies that I met at Stitch West at that table who were friends of Sarah, who are just all so nice people. So anyway, hoping to get together with some of them, but Sarah and Kara, Kay in the Cave, Kara, most definitely. And yeah, I'm visiting my parents and seeing my son and Maddie, and doing some shopping. So yeah, that's what's coming up. But I will try to film at the end of July to show you all my progress on my Christmas in July projects. So until then, that's it for me. I hope you are having a great summer and that you are not melting if you are in the European heat wave. And if you are someplace with air conditioning, it's horrible for the environment overall, but does make summer so much more enjoyable. Uh, please, please realize how fortunate you are and be thankful for it. And that's it. Bye.